Hello, America. I want to talk to you about how the world is burning, specifically what rooms are on fire now and what it should tell us, because we are seeing things happen in England last week and this week. They're slightly ahead of us. England is on the verge of civil war. And what is the government doing? Well, the same thing our government it would be doing, and that is saying this is all the right. That is the problem. It is not the illegal immigrants. It's not any of our policies. The social media is making it worse. Let's bring in Elon Musk. We should shut that all down. Freedom of speech should be gone. That's what they're doing in England, and that's what is coming here. And I want you to try to think out of the box tonight and realize that we keep debating Harris-Trump or Biden-Trump. That's not the question. The question is globalist or someone who will stand in their way. Let me ask you, there should be an easy question, but I don't think it is. Who's really running our country right now? Who's taking that 3 o'clock phone call? Who is making the decisions on what to do in the Middle East? You saw the debate a few years. Do you think it's Joe Biden? Does anyone really believe that he's the mastermind behind all of this? Is it Kamala Harris? I don't think anybody seriously believes that either. Who's running the show? What about Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Obama? We saw what they did with the president and got him to resign as the candidate. Is it them? No. Somebody. All these people have to answer to someone, and I'm not sure who it is. Might be just a group. I don't know. But it is a question that every single citizen in every country in the Western Hemisphere is now having a hard time answering. Too many are not even asking the question. I want you to know we're not alone. This is not an American Republican Democrat problem. Everybody is suffering from the same issues right now. And I want you to take a look at the UK. All over the country, rioters are clashing with police after a brutal knife attack killed 3 British girls. Now, the press and the police, they don't know much about the 17-year-old attacker, except that his parents came from Rwanda. Well, what does that mean? Nothing. Is he a citizen? We think so, but they don't really know because this is as far as the details have gone. The country is on fire, and that's all they have. Now, this is the typical response of all of the Western governments right now. Everybody in the Western Hemisphere. Something happens. They lock down any information, they memory hole anything that might look damaging to the regime, and then rinse and repeat every time tragedy strikes. Doesn't this sound familiar? Wow, it's happening in all of these countries all around the world, too. It doesn't seem like it's the Democrats that could be doing that. Was this entire thing tied to the wave of illegal migrants that, shall I use the words from my Fox days, cascading all over Europe and coming here to America? It is hard to say right now, but at least at this point, it doesn't really matter. Here's what's happening. People are tired of their government all over the world withholding information or outright lying to the people, and then getting the media to carry all that water. And then when anything goes wrong, they blame the far right. Every time there's a reaction to what might be attributed to their policies, it's the far right getting out of control. And the problem is, there are members of the far right that are causing problems. In England, I don't know exactly because I'm not English and I don't do commentary on their country. But what it looks like is the Bubba effect. And it's going to get worse. Now, if you don't know what the Bubba effect is, we'll try to do a show on that again. But it's been something I've been watching that special forces have been worried about since 2006, when the citizenry just says, you're the problem. The government is the problem. And even though you might make a mistake and, Bubba goes in and shoots somebody he thinks is a Muslim, but he's a Sikh, the town will say, we know he did wrong and we'll take care of Bubba, but get your ass out of our town because you're the cause of all of this. That's what's happening in the UK and soon here. Now, who's going to fix this in the UK? Is there a Churchill that's going to galvanize the public and lead them to better, more stable times? Well, you know, wow, it's weird because this is what's happening here. They just elected a new socialist government. And what do we have coming in? That's weird. So who really runs the UK? Is it the Prime Minister? Is it the socialists? The people in Europe are all going through exactly what you and I are going through here in America. We are all seeing policies being driven by an elite class within global institutions. The global institutions hold the power. They are doing everything right now to solidify it. We're at the end stage now. And as the world falls deeper and deeper into war, into instability, into financial crisis and domestic civil unrest, they are frantically gobbling up all of the scraps before it all comes falling down. For the very, very rich and global powerful, chaos amongst the peasant class is a gift. It is a ladder. Take a look at every Western democracy and republic right now. Chaos is in every single one. Take a look at every global region. There is a regional war between NATO and Russia in Europe. There's a regional war now in the Middle East. Keep an eye on Asia for China, North Korea, and Taiwan. It's only a matter of time. So every time there's a problem, every single country goes back to say it's the problem of the freedom people, the people who are on the right, never the left. So that's a really, I'd love to know the odds of that happening in every single country at the same time. Back to my original question, who's running these countries? Wouldn't it be nice to know the answer? We have wars breaking out all over. We have the economy spiraling out of control. An abysmal jobs report on Friday sent the markets into a free fall. Warren Buffett has embarked in something he has never done before, a massive fire sale. Everything's got to go. He's sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. What does he know that we are being told is a conspiracy theory? What does he know that is coming that we don't? I want you to look at this. I'm going to get wonky here for a second. There is an index on Wall Street. It's called the VIX. It's basically the fear gauge. It's looking at how people are reacting in the markets, what's happening. When the VIX is high, people are scared. The two biggest spikes since 1990 were the 2008 financial crisis, you'll see it there, and also the 2020 COVID pandemic. On Monday, if you look at the chart, the VIX spiked to 65, much higher than in 2008 or in 2020 when we shut down the entire world. Money knows something's very wrong and something is coming. Now, this is all a house of cards. And the solution from the global elite class has been to double down on rampant spending, high inflation, mass immigration, and propaganda. And when chaos and civil unrest hits the streets, who do they blame it on? Well, it depends on what side is rioting. If the riots are for the policies of the globalist cabal, then they're just concerned citizens, and the protests are understandable and mostly peaceful. If they're against the cabal, it's the far right, and they've got to be stopped, and we should shut down freedom of speech. We should monitor these people. These people will go to jail. They have to pay. They have to learn a lesson, and we've got to go after their freedom of speech. In fact, drag Elon Musk in here. That's what's happening in England. That's what happened in Brazil. Now, who are the leaders that are going to steer us through all of this? Who's really in charge? Because it's too much of a coincidence for every Western country to be going through exactly the same thing with the exact same playbook. It's too much to believe. So you'll notice in South America, Milei, he was Donald Trump. He was worse than Hitler. because he's standing against that machine. How about in Italy? Prime Minister there standing against the machine. She's worse than Mussolini. And here, Donald Trump. There are a handful of people who the entire world hates because they'll stand against whatever is going on. This election cycle is making things brutally clear, brutally honest where the real power is. In fact, so brutally honest, it makes you wonder, why are they not afraid? Why are they just taking the masks off now? Why did she pick a socialist, pick another socialist to be her running mate, when you should have picked somebody either from Arizona or Pennsylvania, where that would have helped you win? The charade is over, I'm afraid, gang. And the globalist elite cabals are showing everything. They've shown it all over the last few weeks. They have revealed themselves and showed us who's really in charge. And Donald Trump, as is usually the case, was the catalyst. We all felt it. The election was over. Joe Biden self-destructed, burst into flames on live television in front of the entire world. Everyone saw it. Someone then tried to assassinate Donald Trump. Fight, fight, fight. Yes, the election should have been over, and in normal times, it would have been. But the power brokers went into action. Storylines were changed. History was changed. History will remember this for what it was. The weekend coup, the first coup on an American president. Biden went underground with COVID. Maybe, I've heard it was something more serious. I don't know, but they hid him away at his home. We now know that he was given an ultimatum that included the possibility of removing him because of the 25th Amendment. He's incompetent. But they didn't remove him. Why not use the 25th Amendment? If he's not competent to run, he's not competent to be president. So why not the 25th Amendment? My guess is they both have guns to each other's head because they both know where all the bodies are buried. So Biden cracked. Biden, despite millions of votes in the primary, just disregarded, kicked out. Does it kind of feel like this might have been the design all along? I want you to follow me on this. Biden has been a useful idiot from the beginning. Do what we say, or we have the power to expose all of your corruption. Or we'll just use the 25th Amendment. Do what we say. But his usefulness is only as great as his vote count is believable. This is important. Why was the debate held so early in the election cycle? I've never seen it happen. Before he was even nominated, why are they debating? Never happened in my lifetime. Why did CNN drastically change the debate rules to give Biden enough time to speak without interruption? Was it so the entire country could see him bury himself? One thing is for sure, after the debate, Joe Biden as the candidate, Joe Biden receiving legitimately 80 plus million votes, it wasn't believable any longer. The charade was over. So, what do? Well, what did we see from the media? Well, for the first time, they actually started reporting the truth on Biden for a change. After over 4 years from the 2020 campaign to the last few years, all the way through, suddenly it appeared as the order came down, tell the truth about him. He's out of control. He has to withdraw. He doesn't even know where he is anymore. It's amazing how that worked. And then Kamala, who was the most hated person in the press, she couldn't keep anybody in her office. Now it's Camelot. This election cycle is revealing everything, and I'm going to show you how tonight. But let me start with this. Let's just do a little noodling here, just for kicks, okay? Let's say that there is a little electioneering tomfoolery going on. I want you to know this part of the monologue, when I show you what's on the board here, what you need to rig an election, but more importantly, what every American needs to watch for. Republicans, Democrats, independents. Your country, your rights are at stake. This is not something that the Republicans should be concerned about. It's every American should be concerned about this. If you had somebody who was a figurehead, and you had others that are really actually in control, what would the real power brokers need to maintain their hold on this? You couldn't have Donald Trump, who's not part of the game. You couldn't. But the first thing you need is a believable candidate, somebody who it's believable got 70 or 80 million votes. Would it have been believable if Joe Biden would have won with 85 million votes this time around? No way. Now, the other thing you need is new election laws, new election rules. And you need to make the word secure and safe more of a dog whistle for election deniers. And any of these questions on the new laws have to be tabbed as misinformation and disinformation. And you have to have everybody together on that. The new laws would include things like, I don't know, mass mail-in, absentee voting, voting drop boxes. You'd get allied organizations that could harvest the votes, even in places where it's not legal to harvest votes. And then government initiatives that could leverage all of this. Now, examples could be, but I'm totally not referencing anything currently happening. One example could be the Biden executive order on voting. One of the first executive orders he's put through. Almost 4 years later, Congress still cannot get any answers on what all of it meant. Now, you'd also need a system of loopholes. You'd need mass confusion, stuff that has to be sorted out and would take a lot of time. You would have to make sure that it would all be qualified by making it easier to vote, making our democracy stronger. ID verification to vote would be racist. Of course it would. You'd have to have a record wave of illegal migrants into the country. That isn't a problem, okay? And get them registered or have them just vote illegally. No, not to worry. There's all this system here. It's complex, but we'll figure it out. That's not going to happen, even though in some states there are registering illegals. You'd also need, and this is the most important thing, an endless supply of dark money, darker than dark money, to finance the entire operation. Now, some of this might sound familiar to you, but if you really want to know who runs the country and who's running the Western Hemisphere, you've got to concentrate on this last one. Who holds the power? Who's gobbling up everything while the world is burning? It's not Biden. It's not Harris. It's not Pelosi. It's not even Obama and his merry band of Marxists. Follow the money and you'll know. And we do that next. I have to tell you, I used to live with horrible pain every day, and if you've done it, you know how much it just drains all the color out of your world. I tried everything to get it to go away. I'm sure you have too. Thankfully, I found out about Relief Factor, and it changed my world forever. I have to tell you, I get letter after letter after letter. For the last few years, people saying, I was just like you, Glenn. I didn't believe it. I didn't think it would work for me. Some people will write to me and say, it didn't work for me. And I say, well, that's why they tell you to take it for 3 weeks. And if it doesn't work, stop taking it, because it's probably not going to work for you. But this company can't make money if it doesn't work. 70% of the people who try it go on to order more month after month. I'm one of them. It's an all-natural supplement that works with your body to fight and eliminate pain, because it eliminates the inflammation in our bodies. And that's the big cause of trouble for our bodies. The 3-week quick start is only $19.95. It's a trial pack, not a drug. It was developed by doctors. Hundreds of thousands of people are trying it, and a lot of them are feeling better every day. ReliefFactor.com. Go there. 800-4-RELIEF. 800, the number 4-RELIEF. Get the 3-week quick start, $19.95. It's ReliefFactor.com. I want to go back to the coup of a sitting American president, because that's essentially what happened to Joe Biden. It's been reported over the past few weeks that the 25th Amendment was used as leverage to get Biden to drop out of the campaign. That's not putting your country first. That's putting your party first. But in the beginning, people like Obama, Pelosi, and Schumer preferred an open convention to find out who the successor was going to be. Now, I find that weird, because in a span of 48 hours, Kamala nailed down every single delegate and became the sole candidate on their virtual roll call. So if the Democratic Party heads were not fully on board, how did Harris nail this down in 2 days? What deal did she strike to be willing to invoke the 25th Amendment? Actually, more importantly, who brokered this deal? Back when I was at Fox, I remember looking at the research that exposed the billionaires fueling the Democratic and progressive machine. And it was insane seeing how everything was so well done. And it all led back to people like George Soros and the Tides Foundation. In those days, it was a secret. They were quiet about who financed what, where the money was coming from, and where it went. They still are. The Tides Foundation was built to keep everything dark. But this election, many things are being brought right out into the open. So how does the new system work? Well, I think it's actually very similar to the Islamic regime of Iran. In Iran, the clerics and the mullahs, they run the entire show. There is the illusion of a democratic system, and they even allow their people to vote. But what's not talked about is that only the candidates that people wind up voting for are first approved of by the clerics. If the clerics don't say, yes, you can't run, okay? Do you know that this is the first time in 48 years, that there hasn't been a Bush, a Clinton, or a Biden running as part of the ticket? Almost 50 years, gang. The regime effectively installs a figurehead, a puppet, while the people get the appearance of a democracy. Similar system has been revealed here now in America, and we're fighting over things that we shouldn't be fighting over. And why are they fighting so hard against Donald Trump? Because he's not playing this game. Over here, the clerics are replaced with radical billionaires. Now, these are the same deep-pocket faux activists that just love the idea of public-private partnerships with the government. That's fascism. They open up their wallets and they donate to political action committees, or PACs. But their donations are limited by law. So then they open up their wallets and donate directly to the DNC. But wait, there's more. They then open up their wallets again to go to super PACs. And that's when quantities go poof. This is the real power behind at least the Democratic Party right now. No one runs for president without this insane amount of money. These are the clerics picking who everyone gets to vote for. It's money. After the Biden dumpster fire of a debate, the Hampton elites were, well, shall we say, pissed. And their cup count predicted the coup that was about to take place. Since the early 2000s, the Monogram shop in East Hamptons has sold political cups featuring the current presidential candidates. The people buying them are some of the richest people in the country. Just a few days after the debate, the cup count was as follows. 133 Trump cups had been sold. 112 had been sold that say, "Let us pray," and Biden cups tallied 13. These are Biden's top donors. They don't give a crap about him. They want to win. There's a lot of money and power at stake. Well, it was just a few days later that the New York Times reported that about 3/4 of one of the largest political action committees for the Democrats, the responders wanted Biden off the ticket. The PAC also stated that it was, quote, aiming to raise $100 million for a top ticket replacement to Biden. In other words, Biden's top mega-rich donors were holding $100 million hostage if Biden refused to step down. $100 million. That is currently half of Donald Trump's entire war chest. And what do you know? Biden dropped out. The flagship Democrat super PAC that was endorsed by Joe Biden received an immediate influx of $150 million. This is the power behind weekend coups on a sitting president. These are the clerics hand-picking candidates despite millions of voters by their votes wanting something otherwise. The billionaires publicly supported Kamala. The ones that did and are out in the open, Netflix co-founder Reed Hastings. Yeah, thinking about canceling your Netflix sub? Might be a good idea. LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman. How much you love LinkedIn now. George and Alex Soros, because obviously. Bill Gates, Bill Gates' ex-wife, Melinda Gates, and the former COO of Meta, Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg, venture capitalist Vinod Khosla. And who knows? Are there more? Of course they are. Who knows how many other schemes and billionaire clerics are running to jettison elected officials and install their chosen puppets. It's a public-private partnership. These are stakeholders. Do you remember Sam Bankman-Fried? He was sentenced to 25 years in prison for running multiple fraudulent schemes through his crypto empire. One of those schemes was misappropriating billions of dollars of his customer funds for personal use, including making political contributions to candidates. And Biden's DOJ, as well as the mainstream media, have tried to make it appear as if these donations went to both parties. But this case is still going on, and the latest information reveals what was really going on. Listen to this. Bankman-Fried's executives, Ryan Salame and Nishad Singh, recently pled guilty for, quote, taking part in an illegal straw donor scheme to mask the source of their contributions. Salame steered money to Republicans so the FTX chief executive wouldn't be associated with the contributions, while Singh backed liberal candidates. So that both parties, that thing was really just a smokescreen to hide what was really going on. This is yet another billion-dollar operation to influence Democrats. Bankman-Fried pumped $40 million into it during the midterms, making him number 4 of the top mega donors for 2022. And before he got busted, he pledged $1 billion to beat Donald Trump in 2024. Now, this is money that was misappropriated. It wasn't his money. Does anybody think, with all of the money that we have spent, the trillions of dollars that have had no tracking on it going all over the world, does anybody think there's a chance some of this money might be being used all over the world for nefarious things to affect elections all over the world? Big money has always existed in American politics, but I've never seen them effectively jettison a president and hand select another candidate within a span of a few days before, and then get the media to play along and cover up all of it. It's insane. America, this is not a republic anymore. It's an oligarchy, and the masks are coming off. You have to vote for the person, and I say this to every country in the world, that will stand against this machine. The financing tomfoolery gets even weirder the further we look into this, and I'll show you that when we come back. I want to tell you about Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They're a proud supporter of this program. We are proud to partner with them. I love these people and I love their product. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage. They give you the ability to access all 3 major networks at a much lower cost. You get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding all the leftist garbage that you and I are so tired of. And most importantly, they're going to save you money. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're sending the message that you support free speech, religious freedom, the sanctity of life, the Second Amendment, our military, our veterans, that America is important in the world. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service team will make switching really easy for you. If you call them right now, you can keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan for your needs. All you have to do right now is go to patriotmobile.com/Beck. They're in the fight with us. Call 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT, or patriotmobile.com/Beck. When you use the offer code Beck, you're going to get a free month. So use the offer code Beck. It wasn't just the dark money billionaires that opened up the financing floodgates. Apparently, we are supposed to believe that the entire country suddenly became excited for Kamala Harris. Small donations allegedly skyrocketed. Act Blue, the left's main small donor fundraiser platform, reported $27.5 million coming in the first 5 hours. That's incredible. Just a few hours later, that number nearly doubled to 46.7. Then Act Blue declared it was their biggest fundraising day of the entire 24 election cycle for Kamala. After 24 hours, Act Blue was reporting over $90 million. Yes, for Miss Yellow School Bus. She loves them. Is this credible? Kamala Harris was so bad during the 2020 primary, maybe a dozen people voted for her. She was last. But now she's igniting passion and shattering fundraising records over at Act Blue. Wow. Act Blue piqued our interest during the Summer of Rage. We looked into the fundraising of Black Lives Matter. We noticed this little explainer on their website under the fine print. Quote, in the event that a campaign or committee fails for 60 days to cash a check from Act Blue, which includes your contribution after Act Blue makes repeated attempts to work with the campaign to ensure all checks are cashed, or B, affirmatively refuses the contribution earmarked through Act Blue, your contribution will be redesignated as a contribution to Act Blue. Wow. What a convenient loophole. So contributions to social welfare organizations, which are similarly not cashed or affirmatively refused, will be kept by Act Blue and used generally to support its social welfare activities. Contributions to charitable organizations, which are not cashed, affirmatively refused, will go to Act Blue charities. This is fantastic. So in other words, if a recipient, never cashed the check, Act Blue could do whatever they wanted to do with the money. Wow. I can't do that at charities. No, that would be called illegal. What's to stop a coordinated effort to refuse funds in one area and then rechannel those funds to get their pet projects? We're talking dark money here. This has the potential to be as dark as it gets. As of last week, this text was still on Act Blue's website. They've changed it on Thursday. Now, why would they do that during a record-breaking fundraiser for Kamala Harris? Why would they do that? Well, maybe it's because things like this are starting to come out.
FEC data shows that some senior citizens across the U.S. have been donating thousands of times per year. Some of these individuals' names and addresses are attached to over $200,000 in contributions. We went and knocked on a few of their doors to corroborate the data that we received. We're wondering if these donors are victims of what appears to be a money laundering scheme. Cindy No of Annapolis, Maryland, who in the year 2022 allegedly contributed over 1,000 times to Act Blue, totaling $18,849.77. That means Cindy would have had to donate 3 times a day, every day for the whole year. My name's James O'Keefe, and we're doing a story on the number of people that have donated. You did donate to Act Blue, right?
Once in a while.
What about $18,850?
No, I don't think so.
You know people are using your address?
I don't think so.
Okay. So it's James O'Keefe. So easy to dismiss for the left, right? So we wanted to check his work. You can do it too. FEC data is public and fully searchable. On June 8th, a similar person's name and address was used to donate through Act Blue 5 times, and all 5 donations were for the exact same amount. And on June 8th, it was actually a slow day, but look at May 19th. The name was used to donate 19 times, and every single donation was for either $5.26 or $5.27. Oddly specific numbers, aren't they? It almost looked like they changed the number by 1 cent just to throw off some kind of trigger or something. I don't know. But take a look at this because it gets even more suspicious. The name we ran, we were doing our check and one of our researchers got the name wrong by 1 letter. The name we ran was different than the one James O'Keefe investigated. But the name is nearly identical, only 1 letter difference. Now, they are two people in two different states, and they show the exact same donation irregularities through ActBlue. What are the odds? On this morning's radio program, I had the chairman of the FEC on radio to talk about this case and others just like it. Listen to what he said.
Well, as you said, as a matter of law and FEC policy, I can't comment on any investigation the FEC may or may not be doing. But what I can say at a general level is that the FEC takes misreporting and straw donor schemes, which is, I think, another name for what you called smurfing. We take those things extremely seriously. Those are some of the most serious violations that we have at the FEC, where you are misreporting your identity on campaign finance reports, where you are giving someone else money in order to make a political contribution for you. Those are very serious violations. Many people have gone to prison for those kinds of things. And I know that this is an issue that reporters have been focused on. I know it's one that other government agencies are looking into. The Virginia Attorney General, I know, and the Committee on House Administration in Congress are looking into this. I think it's worth watching their work on that issue and any results that come out of their investigations.
So it kind of sounds like these cases are being looked into, but if they aren't, he said you can submit a claim to your state. With the speed of the government, maybe we'll have to continue this on our own. And speaking of that, James O'Keefe put out an invitation for citizen journalists to check data in their states. A group in North Carolina found the exact same thing. FEC data indicated that a man named AD was responsible for over $26,000 in donations to a Democrat-aligned causes. $15,000 of that was through ActBlue. He's retired. He lives on a fixed income. And he was asked and stated, quote, "There is no way I could give anywhere near that kind of money," end quote. So who is? We're seeing similar cases pop up in more states all over the country. May I ask what the hell is going on? As I showed you earlier in the show, money controls this election. It's dumped a sitting president and installed a new candidate. Now it's being shot out all over the place in hard to explain ways. This is not some random conspiracy theory. And if the right were doing it, I would be exposing it as well. The data is right there. The FCC, as the chairman told me, may take a long time to get to this, and then it will be too late. But citizens can file their own complaints. It's even got the attention of Senator Marco Rubio and other members of the House. And there's a little bit of history here that you should know of. ActBlue has already been fined at least twice for facilitating illegal contributions. And if money controls this election, take a look at this data from the FEC. Harris has only been running for president for 2 weeks. Her funding destroys Donald Trump's. How could she come in this late and be beating a candidate that has been fundraising the entire time? And, it's strange, she doesn't even have any policies up on her website. Nobody knows what she's really for. This is the war chest for Harris, as per the FEC. Take a look at transfers from other authorized committees. That's all the money that was raised when Biden was running as candidate. That's his money, and it has already been given to Harris. Now, how in the heck is that even remotely fair or legal? Joe Biden campaigned and raised the money for months. His supporters then voted for him in the primary. Then there was a coup, and the coup money was just handed over to Harris. That's not democracy. Is there anything being done to stop this? Well, my next guest might have a little something to say about that. He's taking action. Next. So I don't know if you heard about the cyber scammers a couple of weeks ago that actually tried to steal Graceland from Elvis Presley's family. They didn't know what Graceland was. They were from a foreign country. FBI calls it house stealing. And if you're a homeowner and you're like me, you want to do everything to protect your home. And that's why you need to pay attention to this. If that wasn't Graceland and everybody knew that they've got millions of dollars. What do you mean they couldn't pay this loan back? Of course that wasn't true. But if that was you, you wouldn't have gotten the benefit of the doubt. When's the last time you checked on the title of your home? Why should you? A new report shows there's $16 trillion available in equity in your home and my home and everybody else's. It's an all-time high. That's why you need protection from a new cyber scam where the equity in your home is the target. If nobody's watching, they can transfer your home title to their name, take out fraudulent loans against that equity, steal your equity, and leave you with a financial and emotional nightmare. Please protect your equity from this despicable crime right now with triple lock protection from our friends at HomeTitleLock.com. Make sure your home's title is still in your name. Just sign up with your address and at HomeTitleLock.com and make sure you use the promo code BLAZE. You're going to receive a complete title scan of your home's title, and the first 30 days of triple lock home protection is free. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BLAZE. The former FEC chair has said that it is quite clear that Kamala Harris can just be gifted all of Joe Biden's campaign funds. But the current FEC chair told me this morning on radio something different. He stated that this is unprecedented and he expects legal challenges to follow, but he also said it better happen soon because the window is closing. Well, somebody who knows how soon it's going to happen and all about that window is Gary Lakowski. He is a partner with the Dillon Law Group, and he's also the deputy general counsel for the Trump campaign. Gary, how soon before we see your actions show up and get in front of the FEC?
So we've already taken action. We've already filed a complaint on this unprecedented campaign finance violation. Now, it's up to the FEC how quickly they can act. They have some statutory requirements to wait a certain number of days before they can take certain actions. But we're hopeful, and we hope that given the unprecedented nature of this and just the absolutely ridiculously large scope of this violation, they'll act quickly.
So you are general counsel for Donald Trump's campaign. What put this kind of money into perspective. What does this kind of money mean to a campaign?
I mean, this is this is a year and a half's worth of Joe Biden's work. This is what he's been doing for the past year and a half, raising all this money, trying to spend it to prop up his failing presidency and his failing campaign. And now they're trying to just take that and switch in Kamala Harris and prop her up to keep her from having to do any of that work. And to put this in perspective, I believe this is close to, if not more money than she raised in her own presidential campaign when she ran back in 2020. Or at least, a significant portion thereof. So that's kind of what this is. This is a significant head start that she's trying to claim without any justification and without any authority.
It's amazing to me because so many people, especially on the left and the right, want big money out. And yet that is a mantra from the left. And what Act Blue is doing and what is just being handed to Kamala, there's no precedent for this. There's nothing like this in our history. Has there been?
No, there's been nothing like this. Like I said, this is likely the largest excessive contribution in the history of our campaign finance system. As of the last report that was filed before all this went down, Joe Biden was reporting something like $91 million of cash on hand. If he were to do it by the rules and properly, he'd be limited to only being able to give Kamala Harris $2,000. So that's just an extraordinary amount that's excessive and in violation. And as you noted, it's amazing. For years, our friends on the left have been bemoaning big money and the influence of these sort of government insiders. And yet what we've seen is this collusion with big tech and other big companies to try to censor the voice of the American people. And things like this, where they're engaging in these sort of unprecedented violations to try to transfer money from one group to another, all without the input of the voters or even the people who supported them in the past.
When you look at the time, the FEC chairman was very clear with me today. He said, we're 13 weeks away from an election. And once the election happens, people can go to jail, but it won't change anything. It won't really matter at that point. We have been talking about Act Blue and all of these little mini Tides foundations for a year and a half, and nobody seems to be paying any attention. Are you out with the Trump administration kind of on your own is there anybody besides the Trump administration that is trying to do anything about all of this?
So the good news is there are some allies who are trying to take on some of this. There are a number of attorney generals. I know I reside in Virginia. Our attorney general has announced an investigation into some of the Act Blue stuff, kind of take a look at that and run down, all right, is this legitimate? Certainly at first blush, it looks questionable, and it's good that there are people who are looking into that. That's something that can be done when you have that authority of an attorney general who can look into those types of consumer fraud things.
The chairman told me also, I thought it was a really strange comment from him. He said, not only watch what the attorney generals are doing in each state, he said, because every state should, have an attorney general who's looking out for the people, but also, he said, you can file a complaint to the FEC as a citizen, and after, I think it was 100 days, he said, if they haven't taken action in appropriate ways, he said, then you personally can sue. And it just sounded to me like almost as if he was asking people to file a complaint to put the pressure on the FEC. And I don't know of anything like this to where if the government fails to act, it goes right back to the citizen and they now have new rights to get involved and sue. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. So that is one of the good features of our federal campaign finance system is an individual citizen, if you see a violation, anybody can file a complaint with the FEC. There is a certain format you have to go to do that. You have to write out the allegations. You have to write out your basis for believing that something has gone wrong. You have to sign and swear a statement in front of a notary saying, yes, I believe this is all true under penalty of law if I'm not telling the truth. So there is a little bit of a check there. But otherwise, any citizen who sees a violation can file a complaint with the FEC. They are obligated to look into those to a certain degree. And the way the FEC enforcement process works is once someone files that complaint, they then have a certain number of days. They notify the person it's about. They have an opportunity to respond. The FEC will then put together a report for their commissioners evaluating the complaint and the response and making a recommendation as to whether they think the law was broken. And from there, the FEC will evaluate that, determine if they need to investigate further, if they can close the matter, or if they want to proceed to what's basically a settlement agreement. And they can proceed
Gary,
from there. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for your hard work, and God bless you and the campaign. We hope justice is done. Gary, thank you, and we'll have more on radio tomorrow. Good night, America.